To me, crypto is about hope and abundance, right? It's about how do we bring people into an economic system that they've been completely locked out of in the traditional world? How do we create new pathways for funding and co-ownership and revenue opportunities? And it just feels like that plot has been lost. And I think that the true core believers and those that we're going to be able to attract in the future are actually going to be brought in with a hope and abundance narrative, not this sort of like, let's go shit on each other. It just gives us a really, really bad look. Wait, is it time for Internet Explorers?
Oh, in a major way.
It cracks me up.
I find myself singing along to it all the time. You know, the lyrics, sensational. All right. Well, hello, everybody. It is Friday. This Friday feels like a triumph for some reason, Ben. I don't know why. It wasn't a particularly crazy week, but
yes, I feel like we're just winning.
Oh, right. Is this what winning feels like?
Little by little.
We got a great show for you today, but excited to have Ben join as co-host here. Ben hosts Liquid Culture alongside Nat. I think he has hit 50 episodes recently on.
We're close. We're almost there.
Real
yeah,
close.
It's crazy.
So there's just
almost
like a depth of awesome conversation there. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you go check it out. And of course, we got Mr. Muppet here.
Good morning. Good morning.
Peace note on the animations. How are you doing, Peace?
Doing good. Got
Let's
cracked out the last jug of raw milk from last year before the season kicks off. So gonna have a bowl of cereal and bid some Bitcoin. The cows, there's no spring milk yet. They're not doing milk.
So how do you store that milk though?
Deep freezer. Deep freezer.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, listen, guys. Last week, Peace was talking about he was in the middle of his cleanse, and we tried to take advantage of him, but the cleanse was so strong we couldn't take advantage of him. But there is a depth to Peace's homesteading right now that I feel is just completely missing from the internet, and would be like a very good, side quest media opportunity here for you, Peace. Because you got
come on down. We can go to the farm.
There we go. You got the deep freeze.
Oh man.
I am surrounded by farms and stuff like that. I feel like I still eat more food from the grocery store than you do. So good for you. Good for you. We got a great show for you today. Last week was, I don't know, I guess a big one for protocols putting their foot in their mouths and then trying to undo it. We have some really great, thought pieces, I think, around the challenges of tokens. And it feels we're sort of in this middle zone right now. And people are trying to sort of chart their way out of it. I think that also leads into some of the renewed interest in venture that we can kind of talk a bit about. And what else? Oh, well, we got Max from Privy joining. We had just a little news event this week announcing a nice juicy raise. And Max is just such a big believer and supporter in the consumer crypto builders that we get to work with. So excited to hear the latest there. And then we got a whole bunch of other little things that we're going to dive into should we have time. Trying to think if we should get it. I want to talk about the Solana video so bad. So completely bad. So maybe we'll do that. And then Max will bring you. Max, if you want to comment on the Solana video, just drop in the chat. We'll pull you up to comment on it. But maybe we'll start off with that, and then we'll go to Max and get into the rest of our topics today. I feel like that was like the shift in the last week was this Solana ad, and I think the internet had a very strong response to it, and it feels like old news at this point almost. So like, why bring it up? But I think it's actually kind of a big thing. And I've seen it have sort of an impact in a lot of subtle ways across a lot of builders we talk to, investors we talk to, etc. And so I don't even know where to start. The video, for those who maybe have not been in the know, I think took some shots, I think, at to say the least, at sort of wokeism, I guess, to a degree, but also very much felt, I think the general take was felt like Solana was punching down in a very divisive and in many ways, I think my take on it was it just looked like they're trying to suck up to power in a way that was just so deeply cringe in the crypto way, sort of market, etc. And so, I think it created a bit of a moment in time that I think was sort of like a punctuated moment in time where people were going like, wait, is this really what I want to be a part of? So I don't know if you have, I mean, I think you've had some good thoughts on this on the timeline and in our chats, Ben. And there's some great tweets here, which I think Peace can go through, I think, to show the reaction people had.
Yeah, I feel like Peace curated a bunch of good stuff. At the end of the day, actually, it made me more hopeful for the industry, like how intensely people, rejected that basically. And I feel like it was, yeah, a low blow attempt, like trying to align a little bit with the social conservative kind of Trump moment in America, and realizing that crypto's really, really diverse and heterodox and like not about that. So yeah, I feel like we can talk about the vibe shift and like what it means, but I think my first impression was like, this is a crazy ad. I had to force myself to like watch through to the end. But then also after seeing everybody kind of be like, this is not it. It's encouraging.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. I think that the response was somewhat I don't know. It seemed like it was unexpected from the Solana team. It was, and I think they're getting a lot of praise for how they kind of handle it afterwards, but I'm not giving praise for how they handled after it. I think, it was up for 9 hours. The apology took 2 days to come in. I'm glad they did it. I think they stood up to it. I think you also saw a lot of, and I have some links here of some of the developers and founders. Obviously in a protocol the size of Solana, there is a lot of different opinions and points of view, even on the founding team and on the operations team. So, I think it was good to see some pushback against that from some of the early founders, specifically around the punching down. But sort of the response to it too, with a bunch of VCs, a bunch of supporters all tweeted it. They've all deleted their tweets. I think Rayhan uploaded it to Zora, so the video's there forever at least. And so, yeah, I think I'm not a huge fan of I don't like the idea of on any other product, protocol, etc., as a way of kind of giving you a zero go-to-market strategy or whatever. And I think that is a very popular thing to do in crypto, and probably actually or at least a success often ultimately in this sort of PvP world that we're in. But it also feels that we're kind of coming out of that era, or at least there's sort of like a disdain for that era, and the hopefulness is what people are searching for right now. And I think that's the type of message that's really going to land today, especially given the political climate, et cetera. And ultimately, it's the core promise of crypto. To me, crypto is about hope and abundance, right? It's about how do we bring people into an economic system that they've been completely locked out of in the traditional world? How do we create new pathways for funding and co-ownership and revenue opportunities? And it just feels like that plot has been lost. And I think that the true core believers and those that we're going to be able to attract in the future are actually going to be brought in with a hope and abundance narrative, not this sort of like, let's go shit on each other. It just gives us a really, really bad look. And we don't need more of that.
It's like the believe in something thing. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out, what do I believe about crypto? Like, I actually do think a lot of the core stuff is still cool. Like, I want to push for that. And the title here, current ThinkCoin, like it's fitting because it stands apart from the believe in something. It shows that you don't really believe in anything in particular, that you're just kind of down for whatever the hot thing of the moment is. And so, yeah, I mean, people make mistakes. Like, we'll see how they handle themselves going forward. But this tweet, I think that Peace had flagged, was like, okay, so you're super on the one side politically 5 years ago, and now you're doing something different. Why don't you just believe in something? And I think crypto actually wants that too.
Yes.
So
yes. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, I think
we're a receipt-based business here. So we're a timestamp based culture.
Yeah, we don't forget.
The timeline. Provenance, baby. Provenance. Yeah, I think I like that message, Ben. I think that to me is the opportunity for builders and leaders in the space is the optimistic, the hopeful, the believe in something. And I think, frankly, if you've been in the space for longer than a cycle, I think you probably have found that something to believe in. And I think, anytime we have these new hype cycles, whether it was NFTs or meme coins, you get a whole bunch of new people in. And I think what the best we can hope for is that a good chunk of those people actually find something to believe in rather than just purely play the gambling game. So yeah, bad luck for crypto. Great and good luck for crypto in many ways if you're kind of on the inside for the response. And I'm just really, I actually shout out to Vibu here. I think there were some really great responses to it from the Solana. Vibu's been a huge Solana builder, supporter for the longest time. He's building Drip. And he says, crypto is here to be a more inclusive society and financial system, one that's global from day one and native to the internet. That's the message and vision we should carry forward. So totally agree.
Yeah.
Oh, glad we got that out of the way. Glad we got that out of the way. It's wild, right? Like, I think we're going to get, I mean, we'll probably get into this with Max a little bit later, but this, you know, the topic of the week in many ways, I think, is this shift from, you know, infra being like, well, it's called the L1 trade to, you know, apps vertically integrating and, you know, adding uncertainty, I guess, to the longevity or breadth of maybe the L1 opportunity, especially as these apps starts to capture attention and own the customer relationship, and thus can sort of vertically integrate. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see what sort of competitive dynamics emerge around these chains that have gazillions of dollars, like gazillions of dollars in their treasuries and block space that's not being used. So we may get into that, but this is such an awkward transition to bring Max in. Is like such a positive dude. So I think we leave on a positive note, hope and abundance for crypto. And then let's jump into like let's just jump into like the current thing, not coin, but the current thing being our excitement for apps and users, and I think building businesses on crypto. And one of the biggest, I think, unlocks that we've had since, I guess maybe the last cycle is just the prevalence of, you know, easy sign up. Let's just call it that. The ability to onboard people. And Privy has been one of the, I think, leading companies in sort of pushing that infrastructure forward. Definitely not the only one, but have done an incredible job at getting out there. What up, Max? Yeah, so you got to bring Max in right as I'm pumping his tires. So now I have to. I can't pump his tires when I'm staring at him right in the face here. So, how you doing, man?
I am great. It's awesome to see you both. Excited to be here.
Yeah, welcome, dude.
Me too. Well, big news this week. Congrats on the raise. Was that 15 million? I think that came into Privy this week. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're really pumped about it. We brought on Ribbit Capital as our new investor, and this is a team I actually worked with for 4 years before Privy when I was at Brex. They were one of the first investors into Brex and know everything that's happening in fintech better than anyone I've come across. And there's a lot of that happening in crypto right now. We thought they'd be great partners to help accelerate everything there.
They've been active in a couple other deals too. I think they've seen their name pop up. So interesting. I'm not super familiar with Ribbit. Okay, so I mean, maybe I'm interested in what sort of the last 6 months has been like for Privy compared to maybe the 6 months before, and maybe how that has charted, like, what the path forward is for you.
Yeah, things feel like they've accelerated a ton in the last 6 months. 6 months ago is like September, and that was when things went from, I don't know if there's going to be another narrative, what's going to be like the shot in the arm for the market, to, oh my God, where do we focus our time in? There are so many things happening across the market. Like starting in September, all of the pockets of the consumer market started heating up. Pockets that, you know, were new, like all the on-chain AI stuff, new spins on NFTs, like really led by Zora and Rodeo, heating back up, and OpenSea and Magic Eden, to all the fintech stuff that's happening, where basically every fintech now is trying to figure out how they can build their product on crypto rails to improve money movement. And so it's been a while.
Let's pause on that for a second, because that's interesting. So you were seeing Web2 traditional fintech companies start to come in and see Privy as a tool that actually brings the sort of crypto rails into their app. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is happening like in a remarkable way right now. Like a year ago, if I went to my former teammates at Brex and I was like, oh, you should think about using crypto for Brex, like they would have just laughed me out the door. And now every company that looks like Brex, Mercury, Ramp, Revolut, like everyone's doing stuff in crypto now.
And so what's the shift in your mind?
I'm sorry?
What's the shift? Like what happened?
Yeah, the two things there, the three things that happened are first, like there are just like visible, really valuable uses of crypto right now. So there's a neobank in Latin America called Dollar App that's entirely built on crypto infrastructure, and so you can get your paycheck in Argentina. They give you an account and routing number. Like the Argentinian peso comes in and it gets converted into stablecoin. And so you're just holding your assets as dollar denominated value. Everyone loves that because it's just a much more stable, way to hold your assets. And then you can attach a card to it. And so you could spend your balance like anywhere cards are accepted, and people are going crazy over it. And I think that's like one of the best examples of like just crypto being very visible, real world impact. And people are like, I want to do that exact thing with my product now.
So stablecoins.
So that's
stablecoins.
That's a thing people are excited about.
It's interesting, man. I want to pull on that similar thread actually to what Jess just asked around inflection points, because I feel like you could zoom out and look back over the last couple of years and pick like one or two big moments where there is like a shift. Jess asked what happened, but I'm curious, like in your memory, if there was a moment, like a team that you started to work with, like when did the mindshare shift to hit those kind of acceleration pockets? Because I think the way I think about Privy is like you're going along and then there's just like a fintech bubble, and then you're going along and then there's another thing. So in your mind, I'm curious what are a few of those spots?
Yeah, specifically for the fintech stuff or just in general?
I think in general for kind of general adoption of Privy.
Yeah. So the fintech stuff's a huge one. We're spending a ton of time on that. The other one that is new and really exciting is some of the ways that like you can take your Privy wallet across different apps now, and cool ways that that's being implemented. One of my favorites right now is how Farcaster is using Privy. It's, I think, like super underrated, even though people are starting to talk about Farcaster a lot more, like some of the things that you could do with the Farcaster wallet. So you sign up for Farcaster with a phone number or email. You could get assets in your wallet. You could actually earn assets from like posting engaging things on Farcaster. So, which is like a pretty cool new 0 to 1 moment for how you could start like getting on chain without using, a funding method. And then with your Farcaster wallet, you could just like go launch any app built on Farcaster, take that same wallet, all of its history with you, and start just like participating in on-chain apps. It's basically like an app store with a built-in payment system and a social graph.
And notifications, baby. Notifications.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I think that team has found like a crazy new gear, and this is going to be a huge year for them. And I'm excited about that shape of how Privy is being used. And Abstract, which is the Pudgy Penguins team and their ecosystem, is doing something pretty similar, just like with a different shape. So you could sign up at abs.xyz with an email, get a wallet, and that wallet just works on any Abstract app by default. And even apps that like don't implement Privy, you could still get your Abstract wallet on Magic Eden, for example. And that's like just a wild new pattern that we've like been building in that direction for years, and it's cool to see that starting to take off.
I mean, so much of, I guess, the timeline in crypto has been about consistently trying to remove barriers, friction, etc. And a lot of that has been technical limitations, the requirement of building out more infrastructure. I'm sure you guys have benefited from a bunch of that work, but I'm also curious if you're sort of running up against any meaningful technical challenges as you sort of build towards the big vision of Privy. Like what's the next hard thing that you have to go figure out, or that we have to go figure out?
Yeah, the hardest thing by far is getting assets in the wallet. I mean, there's like, in my mind, nothing that comes to close to how hard that challenge is. And we're making progress, but it's still not there. Like you still don't have this experience where like anyone around the world could pick up their phone, sign in with an email, Apple Pay assets into the wallet reliably. Like It exists. Coinbase's on-ramp is doing great work there, but there are still like geographic limitations. And it doesn't work. Not any fault of Coinbase's. It's just like there are financial laws of gravity that we're trying to overcome here, where like you can't get the credit card to like get approved. And so the biggest challenge, and like why I think some of the stuff Farcaster is doing is so cool, is like there are other ways to get assets into the wallet. You don't have to like buy USDC as like your first step. And so I think that's really cool. I think Rodeo is another, like, I just think like we're going to keep twisting knobs on Rodeo, and then suddenly like people are actually going to be using it as an alternative to Instagram. But their product, like, you post creative content, people like it, you're earning, and now you have assets in a wallet. And I think there's still like a bit of a cold start there, where like if you're not posting content that's getting engaged, you need to fund the wallet with a credit card. They actually do have, if I had to point to like an experience that has the smoothest card funding flow, like you've gotta just spend the dollar and onboard to Rodeo for experiencing what the best looks like in account funding. They've crushed it. But I think there are ways, like if I have in my Rodeo account like $20, and maybe I refer you to Rodeo and give you like $2 of my balance, so you come pre-funded. And then like my incentive to do that is I can earn like some of the share of your earnings as a creator. I think there are like cool knobs that we could just keep tweaking until suddenly this becomes a no-brainer.
Yeah, the on-ramps and the off-ramps, where we start to touch the real world, continue to be a challenge. But I think it seems so obvious to me that the opportunity is to let people earn their way in, at least at some level. And I think, I think like the way we've done it in the past with pure airdrops feels like maybe not the thing. And even though, $5 or $25 from Warpcast, I mean, if that was framed as an airdrop, people will be like, yeah, come on. I'm not getting out of bed for $25. No, obviously many will, but it seems to be different, right? Like this idea of, I don't know if I would have assumed that people would have responded so well to getting $5 from Warpcast for being in the top 100 or 1,000 or whatever it is, and yet it is overwhelmingly positive.
People love a competition, like top 100.
Give me a leaderboard.
I think that's like more.
More
motivating than the $5.
I don't know, man. I think the $5, like it feels like it's like when you ask your friend to move, right? If you go, it feels like pizza in that context, right? Rather than offering him $50, right? Like it's small enough that it isn't like trying to be too much, and yet it also is just sort of like this little. It's like a slightly upscaled notification. It's like, hey, you're kind of cool, but it's got some value attached to it. It was shocking to me, actually.
We should definitely talk about on like the 0 to 1 moment is Blackbird. Probably if I had to pick the best 0 to 1 moment, it's that, which is like you're at a restaurant, like, oh, what's this thing Blackbird? I might as well tap my phone, and you've just earned $3 that you could then at the next restaurant go and use toward your bill. Like that's a crazy 0 to 1 moment for crypto.
I mean, they're killing it. I love it. Yeah. It's gonna be a long time before Blackbird comes to my little town, though, I think. So I can't go farm it in the way I did. Yeah, we should get Ben on, because their latest fly paper is interesting, and they've got a very interesting approach there. Okay, give me a sense of scale. Like how are you guys measuring your success? What are the metrics that you're touting or being public about right now? Or give us an insight into how sort of measuring your progress.
Yeah, I mean, the metrics we shared with the fundraising announcement is there are 800 live products built on Privy actively using the product. Across those, we've onboarded 50 million accounts, and I think those are the points we shared as a part of the funding announcement. Other things we're looking at, so like onboarded users is great, but we like measure our success on, is the user activating, like are they doing things on chain? And so we have this this is a Farcaster inspired metric, but we have QMAU, quality monthly active users, which are users that are like actually doing things on chain. That's like the moment when there's like real value being transferred that we say, okay, this user, like we've brought real value to our customer here because the user's transacting in the app. So we're like laser focused on that. That's why we care a lot about, account funding, making it easy to on-ramp. And, then some other metrics we care a lot about are cross-app usage, like is, the Privy user who onboarded in Abstract, like taking their wallet elsewhere? Because I think that's like just one of these uniquely special things that crypto unlocks, and we want to make it accessible to everyone.
I really want to ask about specifics, but I know you're not going to give them to me, so I'm not going to really ask it for our audience know that I'm thinking that. But I'm curious on because that sort of the take my wallet with me across multiple apps, it feels very like that. Yeah, I can see that being a really important metric, but my sense is that's probably a very low number right now. Are you guys stoked, or am I wrong? Are we actually seeing a lot of that action?
No.
Like, are people using this as their daily driver throughout the ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, Abstract and Farcaster are the best examples of it, and like they're driving a ton of usage. So it's a lot more. Well, Farcaster, like is a user base we know and love. Abstract is tapping into like a pretty different type of user than we're like accustomed to in the crypto world. And yeah, like this data point is public now. Like 70,000 funded wallets is really impressive. We knew they would drive like a lot of activity. This is like, beyond our best case scenario when they launched, and it's clear they're just getting started.
Yeah, and the airdrop. I mean, I woke up to an airdrop notification yesterday from one of our teams. The Bracky bot pushed out a bunch of Bracky tokens to folks, I think, that interacted with it, and so you can start to see how
yes,
maybe it's like not only will you have maybe you'll be earning a diverse set of crypto to start, and for teams, it's just such an obvious place to go push. You have the social graph, you have the context, rock and roll.
I think Bracky and Banker both deserve a little bit of airtime. Well, they deserve a lot of airtime, but I want to make sure I talk about this new design space that's opening up, which the entire Privy team is like super. We're all like obsessed with these experiences where you could just tag, Bracky or Banker in the feed. You can trade. You can learn about like what's happening on chain. You could provision wallets for people who know nothing about crypto. Like I'm sure people followed the Grok wallet last weekend.
Yeah,
I think we're just starting to scratch the surface of like people waking up to some of the things you could do on chain because of this new form factor of like taking the wallet completely outside of the context of an app.
Yeah, it's super interesting to see how important. I mean, we've been big believers in the social context in which tokens are discovered and shared, mattering a lot to how they are perceived. And I think social networks and L1s, both in my mind in crypto, have the same opportunity. They get to be the place where people start to form identity, where they want to launch new assets, and ultimately, I think, where they want to trade new assets, which wasn't something that I had expected or had maybe even thought about beforehand. And so when seeing these things come in a social network structure rather than an L1 structure, I think should expand people's minds a little bit around what a network is, and that's why tokens might be interesting in these contexts.
For sure. Yeah, this is all like newly unlocked by this Privy capability we call server wallets, which just allow you to manage the wallet from the back end versus like in the context of an app. And I think the fact that I can just tag a random friend on Twitter and say, send this person 5 USDC, and now they have assets that they can manage from the Twitter feed. Like that is a complete like mind rewiring experience for how crypto works.
I think Caitlyn Jenner was launching stuff on BankerBot.
She was
today and yesterday, which was not in my bingo card either. So But interesting that that's sort of like the first touch point. And, of course, it's right in your feed. It's right in your face. You see your friends using it or people you trust. It really brings in a whole other important layer of context, I think, for feeling confident or safe and transacting. So maybe you shouldn't still out there on Twitter. I don't know. Maybe links on Twitter, maybe not the thing that embody the most feeling of safety, but. And yeah, Bracky, Bracky's the team that came through. Bracky the game came through one of our recent accelerators, so very excited about the stuff they're doing there. And my only disappointment, Max, truly, is that they're not doing hockey. It's just basketball right now. And I mean, I'm tall, but like
as Canadians,
we need. We're in a playoff hunt right now.
They're not doing hockey yet, I think is.
Sorry, yes, it's listen, I need immediate gratification.
We need
I'm not one of these people that can. Yeah.
If Tim is listening, I think.
The only thing I say with Tim is hockey. He's like,
when's
hockey? And then it's just not that popular because Canadian markets.
I thought they did have hockey.
They did.
They had a big golf push. I thought they had hockey too.
They had hockey last playoffs because I was like, oh, give me hockey. And if you look at Polymarket, the volumes compared to basketball and hockey is just it just doesn't make sense for them to go do it. But I actually asked it, I was like, tell me about hockey. And it told me that my Canucks have a 31% chance of getting into the playoffs. And if they won last night, they would have had a 15-point boost in that. And they didn't win last night. And so, but we tied. So we close. I feel like I need to bring my Canadianness out more in the current political climate, Ben. So I think we should actually turn this into semi-hockey.
I think the people
I'm into it.
The people want it. They want more.
I don't know if that's true, but we'll see. All right. So where do you go from here, man? I know like you're sort of at the stage right now where you can probably just like the majority of your focus is probably on scale and doing the things that are going to kind of allow you to continue to iterate moving forward. Are there any sort of like big inflection points or opportunities that you see having emerged that you're running at, or are we just going to see like a tight operations machine here as you continue to scale in the same way?
Yeah, I mean, we're heading the big investments we're making are around better cross-app experiences. Still a ton of work we could do. There's like a big user-facing component of this to help users manage their wallets. So lots coming on that front. There's better funding experiences, making it easier to get assets in and out of the wallets. And then there's like just making the server wallet experience much more powerful. That's like just a very new, we're just getting started design space, the sorts of things that Banker and Bracky are doing. And we're excited to go deeper there. And then the main thing is like, we always say, like, as a team, wherever crypto finds like real world use, real product market fit, like we just need to be really well like wired to serve that use case. And so like, when AI agents were really starting to blow up, we're like, okay, this is a great use of server wallets. Let's make sure we work really well for that. And so just like ear to the ground, staying close to builders, figuring out, which direction this unpredictable market goes, and then making sure we're here for it.
Yeah, well, once you figure it out, let me know so we can, You have any other questions, Ben?
I think we covered it. One thing I want to bug you about another time, or would love to hear you guys talk about maybe more publicly, is how you think about Privy as B2B versus B2C. Because I think it's like interesting as a thing to riff on that technically, like, you're working in the back end with a lot of these companies, and yet everyone is familiar with Privy. Like the secured by Privy sort of meme is around everywhere, and you just like have a level of familiarity that I think most B2B people in the background don't have. So yeah, it's just an interesting observation, I think.
Yeah, I would love to spend more time on it. It's something we think like we spend.
Well, let's get into it. We can't just leave people. Give us the.
All right, give us a quick spiel on that. How do you think
the quick is like, we serve developers, like the builders are our customers. We want to make their brand like shine. It's the abstract global wallet. It's not, the Privy wallet. And that's our North Star. But we certainly like have a role to play in, helping consumers like navigate their on-chain identity. They manage their wallets, manage their digital identity. Like keeping users in control is like a very central part of like why we're building in crypto, and it's important for us to facilitate that. So much more user stuff coming, but like Henry, our CEO, always talks about it as like we'll be like the Apple system's preferences. So like you go to settings to like, tweak some stuff around. Privy's not like the destination. Our customers are the destination. But there's more we need to do to serve users better. And so the user management stuff I've been alluding to a bit, that's what comes next there.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you're failing to actually deliver the end user experience, then you're not going to be able to be successful with the business customers that
Yep.
you're needing. So you're going to have to have your eyes on both things, which is a very common thing, I think, in the line of crypto. Feels like there's like a blending of infra and consumer in a way that just doesn't quite happen in the broader economy.
Totally.
Which we like. We're about it.
We
All right,
like
Max.
Great.
I always appreciate you hopping on. If you guys have any, Max is just a very, very responsive human being to questions and support. And so, don't blow up his DMs, but if you got something,
hit him up.
Hit him up. Hit him
Yeah.
up. Look at that smile. That's how he shows up on the internet too. So.
Hit me up. I love spending time with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, Max.
Have
Have a
fun.
good one.
Take care.
I love seeing these, we seeing these companies really start to hit, breakout speed, right? And think about, my very sort of first industry that I worked in right out of university was Web 2. And everything was so quaint at the time when you look back on it. And the big thing that lesson I took from that is that this stuff gets way, way, way bigger than I was able to grok. I could not grok the scale that was going to come from the stuff, even though I was just such a deep believer and felt the transformational power of it. And you could be your own producer or TV show or, whatever. And it seems like, we're, and in crypto, you start to see these things that just go from 0 to 1 billion. And then you don't kind of have that, like, staged out growth journey maybe that you'd have in other places.
Right.
And so it's kind of fun seeing Privy just continue to push on that. I think, UX continues to be the name of the game, but it's kind of interesting to see that it's actually gone away from, if we were talking about this maybe a year ago, was practically like the friction of the user experience. And now really it's like, how do we go get value into wallets so people can go do interesting things? So a meaningfully different problem, probably a better one for us to try to go solve today.
Totally. No, I like that. I like that. I like those guys. I feel like they're just a great team. The positioning is great. They are for the industry at large in a way that it's kind of rare. Like a lot of stuff is very tribal. I feel like Privy is just this is awesome. Let's win. Everyone is going to win.
It's wonderful when your business strategy aligns with your
for sure.
what you want to show on the internet. Cool. All right. Well, we got some other topics to get into, so let's dive into them. What do you want to bring up first, Piece? What you got next?
What do we have next?
Civils are not your friend. So yeah, this is I'm starting to see more comments like this. So the tweet is, why are you even still doing a Galaxy campaign in 2025, man? So unserious.
Yeah.
Galaxy, layer 3, there are others, the sort of idea of kind of like questing or I guess it's questing platforms. And you see these things, I chose this one because I had seen a number of projects come across my timeline that had just this, hundreds of thousands of followers and could barely get 200, 300 views on these tweets. Right. And
Totally.
it's just like so obvious that they're trying to game the system and play the game. And it's not a surprise or a shock in crypto. And it's definitely not just happening on Twitter. It's, TVL or it's volume or it's, whatever. But it felt like maybe the tide is turning here a little bit. Maybe the sort of the pure vanity metrics that we all know are just complete, that are actually being seen as that in a certain way. And I think actually if you scroll down a little bit, there was a good response here that kind of actually made an even deeper point. It's not that one. Scroll a little bit further. Maybe we won't find it here, but it was basically making the argument that the business model of these networks is really aligned with, is not aligned to drive real users. They want to, the vanity metrics are ultimately the opportunity
sure.
here. You sort of have this incentive loop here where it's you can go spend a bit of money and have 100,000 users that you can put in your deck, that you can put up on, it's on chain that you can see up there. But it's probably 2 Sybil farms that have just done a good job at doing it. And I even think like the general take that, these are folks that are in developing countries and they're just airdrop hunters is probably still a smaller section than, those that are able to game it. And you layer AI on top of this. And so my thought was like, as the cost of actually being a bit of a scammer, like let's call it, if you're purposely inflating your metrics knowingly that are not users in a way to kind of convince people to buy your token or to raise money, put you in the scam bucket as far as I'm concerned. But that's I guess that we're going to start to see that kind of end because we're getting smarter from it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like people are starting to understand that there's value in having a real audience versus just like a metric, right? To say, okay, who are the actual humans that follow me that I can sell my product to, or who are going to actually follow along in my community. But I was chatting with a founder of like a reasonably big project, and he understands the exact same observation that this isn't really real, but it's kind of a game that you have to play. So this like sort of both.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Tend to be true, where you're like, cool, I need my Twitter to not look like it's like a joke side project from a college kid, but at the same time, I do need real people to care. Otherwise, it's going nowhere. So I think
there's a big difference between like paying for ads around your content to drive your Twitter users and like running a campaign specifically to drive, I mean, it's like anybody who runs the Twitter follow us on Twitter campaign is going to get 100,000 followers, but 4 of them are real. And
right.
so I think it's like, I mean, I started calling some people. I think Dorney, I'm going to call Dorney out. Like this was, I think, something that I only found because I think Vitalik dumped a bunch of the tokens and it was at $1 billion market cap. They just played all the stupid games. 100,000 followers on Twitter, 250.
And you've never heard of it. I keep coming across
it.
Stuff like that, and it's like, what the hell? Like, I do this 14 hours a day, and I've never heard of your company, and you have 200,000 followers. Just
yeah. So this is we're trying to launch market caps, not build businesses. That has been a lucrative thing in crypto for a while. Some of it will probably remain lucrative, but I think that bucket or that opportunity is getting smaller and smaller as investors and others start to be aware. Now, I'm constantly disappointed by humanity in this way, and I think even just seeing some of the other news this week was that I think Pudgy Penguins, Pug is filed for an ETF, around it. And, it's another thing. People are like, oh, suicide, but, probably going to be denied. Clearly a marketing sort of stunt. And people kind of fell for it. I found myself, I was like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, oh, right. Application, not approval. Big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference. So I think we'll see where that is. But I don't know. This is maybe in the sort of hope and believe in something type of thing.
Yeah.
I think it is you're right. As a founder, if you are, you're being compared to others who are playing this game. And so it takes some courage, I think, to not go play that game. Totally. And I think for me, like the big shift that gives me confidence in not playing that game is that we can actually go do the things we want to go do. We can go create value in these networks. We're hopeful that we'll start to see a regulatory path forward for doing that. And I think that's, again, going to be the big shift from all we can go do is build market caps. And here's like the ways we do it with our hands tied behind our backs to, okay, can we go build a machine that is going to create value, more and more value into the future? That's what I want to build. That's what I want to be a part of. It just hasn't been a huge possibility before.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's the followers of depth versus followers of breadth thing, where a lot of crypto is a mile wide and an inch deep. Like people don't really care. But the people who can create community with people who are on that like depth side of the relationship will just crush, right? Because they actually will go to bat for you. They'll use your thing. They'll give you feedback.
And you don't need 1 million of them to have an extremely valuable token. Like this is the thing, right? You can have thousands, tens of thousands of holders here of your token, and there'd be a value around the stuff rather than needing billions of users to create that value. So I think there is a strong, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Twitter's user numbers, even in their early days of funding, were grossly overinflated due to the bots and stuff that were on it too. So this is not just a Web3 thing, but I don't know. I feel like it matters more when you are asking retail to come in and buy your token and hold your token. And to me, that's what the line is, and where the integrity level or bar is actually just a lot higher.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh yeah. I think Peace is a civil, but that's okay.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
But not but just in the chill way. Just in the way that I have multiple Instagrams, multiple Twitters.
Like 4 wallets, right?
Yeah. You know, it's like
4. Those are rookie numbers, baby.
yeah, exactly. I think
he's got 4 wallets in each of the 4 wallets.
I think that it's when, you know, I don't do anything personally programmatic. And I think when you get into that sort of scale, you're really doing
Totally.
You're
But
really actually attacking some shit, basically.
I think that is the ability that is now being democratized to a point that will ultimately drive this stuff into not mattering, right? Because we think about, if everything's AI, how do you know what's real? Well, you start to get into needing to solve the civil problem in a real way. You know, WorldCoin, World App, etc., sort of an example of it. And so, you know, it's just like if you don't have to be in some dark web forum to find the exploit. You can just, you know, pop onto ChatGPT or a Cursor and code up a thing that's going to run you 150 bots or whatever. I mean, this just brought up there are other projects out, like I know of a project that has 30,000 bots on Twitter right now. And
nope. That's who's liking my tweets.
Yeah, well, I mean, 1% is liking your tweet speeds. You got to appeal to the bots for it.
No, I feel like this made me think, like, I'm actually fine with people sibling something because the economic incentives are there. Like, if they physically want to go take the time and do that, that's fine. I don't think the project from like the top down level should be encouraging that, though. Like, I don't think that's a direction that we should continue in the industry. So it's kind of like, sure, is someone going to farm Arbitrum and do that airdrop because they want to make some money? Of course, like there's no harm in that. But it's more the people who are like, hey, you know, you should use our thing, and they just get fake metrics. There's nobody there. It's like ZK sync or something like this. Whatever. I just I'm not about that.
I think it maybe I think if we're able to, there's really some really great use cases get unlocked if we're able to ultimately verify that we're giving tokens or opportunities to a specific individual. I think it continues to be like a big barrier, and you know, I think that there's still a lot of hope around WorldCoin. They continue to grow. I get my $3 every month, and they've done a good job of designing that loop to get me into looking at the apps and stuff like that. But still feels like we got a long ways to go to actually have enough scale there to actually be able to roll out products and feel like we have enough distribution to really, you know, hit the type of scale that we want to in venture-backed businesses. Maybe we get there. Cool. Well, into a lighter note, I think our next topic here is that your token model sucks, and that you know it.
Amazing.
Your token model sucks, and you know it. It's a great post from Caesar Julius Zero. You know, great. I think it just clearly articulates the issues. So I don't think this is groundbreaking in any way, but I do. Again, I try to really pay attention to what is bubbling up. Right, like where are we going from a vibe, if you will? And I think, you know, calling out the bit of low float high FDV tokens, calling out the bit of certain meme coin tokens, talking about the actual economic models being inhibitors to long-term success. And, you know, I think our ability as an industry or as founders to actually really seek out truth here and understand, you know, ask the questions like, why are we doing this? And is that actually right for the long term? You know, I think it's what we have to be doing, and I don't think it's, you know, the type of conversation that really has been happening often enough. Again, for regulatory reasons, I think in many ways. So, if you don't scroll down there, piece, he just makes a couple of good headline posts. Like, we're not sort of reinventing the wheel here by any means, but
there's some bullet points in this thing, I think.
Yeah,
maybe further down.
There we go.
Oh yeah, here we go.
So the issues he articulates are token inflation for liquidity mining. It calls out just like the massive expense of projects in actually incentivizing liquidity. You know, he calls out the vanilla airdrops. You know, I think Brian Flynn has been on this for a while. So if you've been following him, you're going to see much of the same thing here. You know, just again looking at the expense and the effectiveness of these things. Basically calls vanilla airdrops kind of DOA today, most people are just farming them and dumping them, and you actually aren't getting tokens into the right hands. Calls out the high-FDV, low supply. I mean, we've been on that for a long time. Clearly a method to go create a market cap, but our core question is, if it's just down only for a while and your best holders should have dumped on day one, are you actually setting yourself up for success in the long term? I don't think so. And then the final point, which I think is actually like the big point, is that there's no revenue sharing or value accrual. And so I think, like, to me, it's like, if you have launched a token in the Gensler era, not only do you have to undo your Gensler thinking, because the world of regulatory, the regulatory world is changing, hopefully. But you also have to question all of the examples that maybe you're looking at, right? Because they've been launched in an era that is not as relevant to today. And so I think there's a lot of people rethinking how they want to go. I mean, it's a topic of conversation inside our group chats and with founders, etc. And so I'm very excited to see people, like established projects, go take a run from a first principles point of view on how to go bring out their token. Specifically, very interested to see what Zora does around their token. I think teams like that are deeply crypto native, have a platform and a brand, and I think understand the sentiment and opportunity and the shift that's happened. There are others as well, but I think we're going to start to see more diversity in the stuff. We had a team, I think this week, Kamagochi, sort of a vertically integrated on-chain game with an incredible team, trend for 2 days around their fundraising announcement. And I think the core piece there is that they're actually, I think it's got us excited about, is that they're really taking a first principles approach around how to bring their token, how to bring their community along in the journey of not only building the product and the game, but also the value that gets created there. And so starting to see signs of that shift sort of be appealing to those that I think ultimately move the needle here, right? It's probably 1,000 people that can, you get the right 1,000 people in, rather than just a massive humanity in, and I think you're going to be in a better position. So I'm optimistic.
It's kind of tricky because I feel like the bullet points that he brings up as the main problems have just become norms, where all the big projects just start to copy each other and they do the low float thing. You just have a perpetuating set of problems. And so the hope anyway is that now, under a different government in the States, different regulatory apparatus, you at least have people pressing to explore different things, whether it's literally just giving revenue to token holders, or giving rights to token holders, or yield, or back to the DeFi summer era stuff that no credible project took seriously, but the devs on the margin were kind of tinkering with. Now all of a sudden you can do that stuff, in theory, right? And so I think I'm also hopeful, but I mean, we still don't see a lot of examples that you can point to that are other than just like buy back and burn. And the Thea guys have written about this, the Blockworks guys have written about this. It's just like, it's time to see some innovation also from the top. Like, you look at these bigger projects, and like
it's coming from their VCs. It's coming from their VCs, right? And that's the thing. And so that's why watching certain VCs who are very outspoken about meme coins, not to name any of them out, but you probably know, and also knowing that this is the only way to launch a token. You have to do a low float high-FDV token. Kind of galling in my mind, but I think it's funny, right? Because there's high risk in everything we do here, but the value of being able to do something innovative in crypto is just there's like multiples of just copying.
I'll tell you, the issue that I really see with airdrops, and maybe you guys can school me here, because he doesn't mention it. He mentions that many recipients cash out immediately, but the truth is, you literally, at least in the States, you have to, because of the tax implications.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm kind of I'm like figuring out how I'm whatever. It's basically too late. I'm like locked in on 2024, and I'm like, some of those airdrops were not gifts. They are tax burdens, and it really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the shift we're going to see is that founders are going to want people to buy their token rather than them giving it away, which is like, when you say that, it's like, duh. But there are meaningful barriers to being able to do that. And so we're already seeing this with Echo and with Legion, kind of trying to bring people in on the private side. But I think, and token launch pads, pump. We should talk about Rainbow as well today on the other side. But I think we just haven't seen, the middle, maybe the sort of the opportunity in the middle.
It's
Yeah,
so
I do feel
true.
like we're at an inflection point a bit with it. Like a lot of people are calling this out. I think a lot of projects do want to not be a scam. I don't think they're sitting there being like, yeah, let's make this useless
I
token.
think most, overwhelming.
Right, like a lot of the people who at least have a vision for crypto want to explore this design space. So I'm hopeful that the next 6 months look a lot different than the last 6 months.
I think we'll see like a novel token launch break free, and it's going to just open up the design space again. It's actually pretty lame how boring and repetitive and lacking creativity some of these token launches have been. Actually, maybe that's the thing I'm mostly offended by, is just how boring
Totally.
how boring it is. Though, yeah, I guess it's fun if you're a founder to see $7 billion FDV on launch.
Here we go.
Even if it goes down to 2, you're like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Let's go.
Yeah.
I got my yachts.
This is part of tweet where, and it's of course it's being obstructed by a promotion. Your Honor, please let the record show that I think free tokens are net bad. Do not send me free tokens. I want to buy them. I literally want to buy them.
He doesn't know how to sell them. He literally doesn't know how to sell
100%.
them. That's why he likes paying taxes. Yeah, I'm optimistic on it as well. All right, let's just hop into some lightning round stuff. I think I have this link for Bobby Goes to Disney because I thought that was just Bobby Hundredson did a bunch of NFT stuff back in the day, but really have the roots in streetwear culture. And he's got a great book all sort of about building with community. This guy sort of came from nothing and built just like a defining streetwear brand. Jumped into NFTs. It seemed, very much an innovator on the edge. And to see him move to VP of Creative and Consumer Products at Disney, like it felt like a big deal in my mind, or like both a big deal for the strategy of Disney to some degree, and then obviously I think for Bobby as well, it's quite the opportunity. I would assume he's pretty stoked about it. So I share this more as just like a blast from the past. I still have probably a bunch of the Atom Bomb Squad tokens in there. It felt like a peak 21 NFT drop sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. Does this mean that we're going to see some more crypto stuff popping up at Disney in some way?
I feel like it's bullish. I kind of go back and forth on these things because I think a lot of these big companies need to hire crypto talent. And so when they look out there, they need to find people who are de-risked and have track record from outside of crypto and are like largely independently legit, and then also have some sort of crypto affiliation. Bobby is a great pick. No knock on him at all, but it's just an interesting, like I think Mike Shinoda went to Warner Bros for like Web3 music. That kind of thing, right? And it's like, okay, this person has track record, we can trust them to maybe tinker on the margin to see if there's anything here. And so I'm in like wait and see mode with a lot of these things. I would love if they like really pushed, and I think he's probably a guy to try, but it's just difficult in the hierarchy.
I think trying to convince I think I was talking to somebody who's at a large consumer beverage company doing crypto, and seems like a special type of hell trying to move crypto through something like that. I don't know. Like, if you're interested in crypto, it's like, let's put a bunch of barriers and other decision makers in the way of me doing something where I can just go do something on the chain. I'm realizing we haven't even talked about Pump or about the Rainbow Launchpad, and maybe we can just briefly stop there, and we can jump into it again next week because there's a bigger conversation to be had. But this week, Pump rolled out their AMM, and then this morning, Rainbow Wallet rolled out their token launchpad. And one I think is the Pump is sort of like an example of the fat application thesis playing out, and I think it's led to some really great points and questions around the value of infrastructure in the future, or how broad that opportunity is, what types of products we'll be able to vertically integrate, what does that unlock, etc. And so this is a thing that we believed for the longest time, that if you own the relationship with the consumer, you're going to be in the strongest position to ultimately build out the infrastructure or integrate other things in a favorable way. And so I guess both of these are an example of that to a degree. Like the Rainbow opportunity is like, okay, we can help launch tokens, we're going to make a ton of money. Totally. And for Pump, it's like, well, there's some meaningful friction in using Radium, but also we can own much more of that value flow. And sounds like they're interested in giving a bunch of that back. My hope is that they are very generous, given the hundreds of millions of dollars that they've extracted over the last little while. But we shall see. That's their opportunity to really be the goated platform. Knowing those founders, they got it in them. So I hope that they go take advantage of that in a big way. And so, yeah, cool to see. And also there's some good drama between, Radium founders popping up. And it's a fun thing to look. But maybe
because they also launched something to compete, right? Like they launched a front-facing token launch, right? It's
and I guess
they don't own the user, so it's not how do you play.
And I'm not even sure that even if you do own the user, like Rainbow does, that they're going to be successful. Truly, like maybe that's my question. Like, do you think this token launchpad from Rainbow is actually an interesting idea? Like I understand why they would go do it, and if it works, it's definitely going to be a good idea. But my take is I just felt like 2 months too late, baby. Or at least it wasn't pushing forward a new novel concept associated with it.
Yeah, it's just like hard yards to try and convince people to use a new token launcher now at the margin when, we probably saw 10 decks related to one different feature of a token launcher over the last month or two. Like it is old news. Like Pump Fund does have a first mover to it. And I also feel like ETH culture would need to shift a little bit more heavily towards that to really have Rainbow even pick up that much traction.
I mean, to me, like Rainbow, and especially if you think about the competitive dynamics there with, Robinhood obviously coming at the market's really big. I think the announcement with Cashy this week, so they're bringing out prediction markets, and you can start to see that as an example. Is to be the play, like the most value you can have from that distribution, I think, is for founders who are building, real things or who want to kind of bring their token to market. Having integrations with wallets might be a really interesting thing there, right? If you think about what a CoinList does right now versus what a Pump does, like, is there a way to kind of bring those together as regulatory clarity comes out? And maybe we'll start to see, I think like listings or like the creation of these markets, the standing up of them, the pre-sale of tokens, or like that is more of an opportunity for a wallet than just building a very opinionated token launcher. But I don't know ultimately what that looks like, and it's probably not a thing you can go do right now at their scale.
It might be table stakes though. Also, like it's not for founders, it's not for protocol developers, etc. But it might be for people who have wallets and want to post.
Well, I mean, I think if they're able to get traction on this in a meaningful way, then I think that is a really big supporter of like the application thesis, etc. I'm not convinced. Right. I think it's like I don't think I think it's a bad thing to do. Maybe it just feels mispositioned in the current market here. Like it didn't feel new to me in some way. And all these guys are trying to innovate around this sort of token allocation and it's that's actually a very small. I think it's gonna be a big category. Like attention tokens in my mind are a big category. But
you know what I think everyone should do? Is they should go to the New York Stock Exchange website and read this.
You just read it for us, please, because
let me read it for you. I fucking love capital markets happen here. The New York Stock Exchange is capitalism at its best. The belief that the free and fair markets offer every individual the chance to benefit from success. We set the standard with our unparalleled trading platform, enabling entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors to raise the capital they need to change the world. We want to share our vision for good governance, transparency, and trust with our listed community, furthering the responsible development of global business. You work too hard to list anywhere else. That is the dopest brand promise of any organization that I've ever read. And it's so funny that it's the New York Stock Exchange. And the value prop is very familiar. And I don't know. I'm just studying these guys. What a job.
I love it. And I agree. I mean, that's the hope and abundance angle for crypto, I think. And I think if you talk to Austin from Whetstone, he'll call out maybe a level of bullshit on their statement there and the inefficiencies and effectiveness there. But I think there is actually an opportunity for crypto to maybe deliver more fully on that promise. Obviously, New York Stock Exchange is pretty bloody successful, but it feels like there's inefficiencies there that crypto's clearly going to solve. So
Good
look
stuff.
at that. All right, that's a good note to end on. The New York Stock Exchange.
Capitalism.
Capitalism. Yeah. Internet capital markets, baby.
Internet capital markets. Yeah, with you there. Yeah, all right. Thanks to Max for hanging out with us today. I always love hanging out with him. We again go liquid culture. Who you talked to lately, Ben?
Who did we talk to lately? We have done 6 interviews in the last 2 weeks. It's crazy. So we're releasing one on art with Malta, who's a curator, probably my favorite writer on like digital art, crypto art, that kind of thing. We are actually don't know if I want to leak too many of these, but we've chatted with an L1 founder who I think will be fun to. Releasing that one will be fun. But yeah, it's just like trying to coalesce around the crypto and culture intersection, and there's a lot of people who seem to be keen to chat with us, so it's fun just to like be able to have 45 minutes of people's time.
Yeah, love it. Go give them a follow.
Yes.
Nice. All right, well, we're back here every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I think we might dive into the era of decentralized autonomous investors next week, which would be kind of fun. I have questions. I have differing opinions, I think, so that should be a good chat. And if you're not following the C Club newsletter, Cheryl continues to write the best newsletter in crypto, and that's not me saying it, that is the people on the internet saying that. So cclub.xyz, give us a follow there. Make sure you're on that list. We got a bunch of fun stuff coming for y'all. And otherwise, stay safe out there, and we'll see you on chain.
Yes.
Internet Explorers.